Another journey deep into the heart of Texas, the Dallas, Texas this weekend. The Ravens headed down, the first place Baltimore Ravens headed down to take on the first place 8-1 Dallas Cowboys. And I know so many of our fans are making this trip. I had a great week already with the Dallas Mavericks and Dirk Nowitzki meeting my wife Stoner on Monday night at Madison Square Garden before the Knicks and the Mavericks played. I've seen the Mavericks play 3 times in the last 7 days, so it feels like I'm a little part of the Mark Cuban circle down there. This guy covers the Mavericks as well as the Cowboys, the Rangers, the Stars, who are home on Saturday night, by the way, so I may take in that Oiler matchup on Saturday deep in the heart of Texas. He covers all things sports at NBC5 and at NBCFTW as well. He is Patrick Doney. We welcome him back onto the program. You can follow his journey out on Twitter at Pat Doney NBC5. What's going on, man? Happy first place to you. No controversy at all at quarterback in Dallas, right, Pat?
Yeah, not a big storyline here at all. Just all about the 8-game winning streak. That's all anybody wants to talk about.
Well, I mean, the Romo press conference was as unique a thing as you would ever see in sports because this sort of thing rarely happens where the incumbent gets chased out by the upstart young rookie, especially when it's not like he's the 8th quarterback taken in the draft. This has really been a good fortune to shine upon Jerry and Jason Garrett, correct?
No question about it. I mean, 4th-round pick, Dak Prescott has come in, and he's played at an unbelievable start to the season so far for Dak. He's played out of his mind. The Cowboys have won 8 games in a row. That's tied for their longest franchise record for the longest winning streak in the regular season, ever that they've ever had. And the last time it happened was 1977. He's already broken the Cowboys' rookie passing record for completions, passing yards, and touchdowns in a season, and he's only played 9 games. So you could really make the argument, going back and looking at the first game of the year that they lost against the New York Giants, that they really should have won that game. There were a couple of dropped touchdown passes, and if Terrence Williams gets out of bounds, they have a chance to take a game-winning field goal. So this guy has been far beyond what anybody expected, and I think everybody has seen that, including Tony Romo. When I spoke to Jerry Jones after the Cowboys' last game against the Steelers when they won in Pittsburgh, Jerry said, look, Tony's going to be our backup going forward because this decision is obvious, and even Tony would know this is the right move. You got a 23-year-old guy who is clearly the future, and he's not costing the team anything. And in fact, on the opposite side of things, he's leading them to wins, and you'd have to think he's only going to get better with more game reps. So I thought Tony handled himself extremely well, tons of humility, very selfless to put the team first. Dak Prescott echoed that when he spoke to the media Wednesday afternoon, saying that he expected nothing less from Tony because he knows Tony's a team-first guy, and that just shows you how tight the locker room is for the Dallas Cowboys right now. It's something players have been saying all season long, that this is the tightest group and the best locker room they've been a part of in years in their careers. And here we are now at 8-1, the Cowboys in first place in the NFC East, the best record in the NFL, and they're taking on this Ravens team. As you mentioned, the Ravens in first place going into this game, and yet the Cowboys are a 7-point favorite going into the game. That tells you how much respect Las Vegas is giving the Cowboys as well.
Pat Doney joining us here from Dallas. I know you're a transplant, and look, I grew up with the Cowboy thing with Staubach and, Dorsett and Pearson and all those guys. You referenced that, 77 team, and, I remember the fill-in quarterbacks and Clint Longleys and all sorts of things that have happened over the course of time. But for Jerry Jones, I've always hated the Cowboys. I mean, I just always have because they were America's team, which is a bunch of hooey, and, they cut the hole in the roof so God could watch them play and all that nonsense. Throwing out Jimmy Johnson a couple of decades ago, and Jerry hasn't won Bupkis since, right? And he's run the show. If you're around Jerry, it's impossible to not like Jerry, right? Like, I've been in his presence so many times over the last 20 years that you can hate the Cowboys, you can't hate Jerry. And Romo's like one of those guys, too, where, like, it's hard to have, he's almost Cal Ripken-y in some way, where, like, he's likable, and the press conference made him even more likable. And there are quarterbacks in this league that I don't like them. I don't like their press conferences. I don't like the way they handle themselves. I don't like their faux leadership in certain ways. And, yeah, I'm talking about Cam Newton. But in the case of Tony Romo, it's almost this kinder, gentler version of the Cowboys. And I don't know that Jerry's ever going to get any credit for this, but this whole thing right here really is a credit to Jerry, whether it's staying away from Manziel or drafting Elliott or the offensive line that's the best on the planet right now and a bunch of defenders that is sort of a little bit of a no-name defense for now, because I don't see anybody where I say, well, there's a Hall of Famer, Famer, but there's got some guys in the Hall that are pretty good right now, and they're on as good a run, as you pointed out, as they've had here since Jerry fired Jimmy, right?
Well, I mean, there's no question. They're playing the best football that this organization has seen since they won the Super Bowl against the Steelers way back in 95, 96 that year. And it was just, look, Jerry gets a lot of credit. He was the executive of the year 2 years ago. The people underneath him should get a lot of credit. That would be his son, Stephen Jones, who's the CEO or the vice president, whatever his title is. But he's essentially the GM along with his dad, as is Will McClay, the director of player personnel, who's been outstanding in the drafts. If you look at the drafts of the Cowboys the last 5, 6, 7 years, I mean, really, they've almost all been home runs. I mean, and the Johnny Manziel one's a perfect example. Jerry kind of wanted to take Johnny. He made sure everybody knew that. And yet McClay and Stephen Jones talked him out of it and said, take Zach Martin instead. And you could argue that Zach Martin is a top 5 offensive lineman in the NFL already. So they just continue to hit. You mentioned Ezekiel Elliott. I mean, you could make the case right now that Ezekiel Elliott is the rookie of the year and maybe even the MVP of the league right now. He has 1,005 yards rushing. That's 75 yards more than any other player in the NFL. He's churning out these 100-yard games against good defenses when the opposing team is coming up trying to slow down the run over and over again, and yet they can't do it. He had the game-winning touchdown in Pittsburgh last week. I mean, and really he has this 1,000-yard season already, and he didn't play well the first 2 weeks of the season. He didn't get 100 yards those first 2 weeks and really struggled against the Giants and Redskins. So they've had a home run with his Ezekiel Elliott pick right now. And speaking of that 1977 group, you were mentioning Drew Pearson, who, by the way, joins us on NBC5 every Sunday. Great guy, on the Star Box and all of this. The last time the Cowboys had a rookie have a 1,000-yard season was Tony Dorsett in 1977, and Ezekiel Elliott is already there, and they've only played 9 games, so they've still got a long way to go. He has a great chance to potentially set the Cowboys' single-season record for rushing that DeMarco Murray broke 2 years ago, and he's doing this all as a rookie behind the offensive line that Jerry and that front office built throughout the last couple of years. It's formula that worked 2 years ago when they went 12-4. They've just copied it this year. And I think that Elliott is maybe even a better version at running back of what DeMarco Murray was 2 years ago. But maybe the biggest difference to me is I think this Cowboys defense is even better than it was 2 years ago, and that's what's really separating from the 12-4 year, which was fantastic in 2014.
Yeah, there's really something about stability there where I don't know it was that way when it was the Jimmy and the Parcells and, Jerry couldn't get along with coaches and Wade Phillips and all the other people that came forth and coached the team. It's felt like Garrett was the chosen one all along. Garrett almost took the job here 8 years ago and kind of had to be talked back down the tree. Bisciotti was in love with Jason Garrett and wanted to hire him. That's no secret. My book begins with that from the last championship that Harbaugh won. And they have been loyal to a lot of guys, but it really is a family business in an era where there aren't a whole lot of family businesses left in the National Football League, right?
Yeah, it's a very tight-knit group, and Jerry will tell you that it goes beyond just business with his relationship with Jason Garrett. I mean, he likes the guy, and that's why last season when people are asking him, hey, is Jason Garrett on the hot seat, when they're 4-12, I mean, he was doing everything he could to avoid that topic and would try to change the subject because he wants to win a Super Bowl here, but he wants to win a Super Bowl with Jason Garrett as his coach because he likes Jason Garrett and he believes in Jason Garrett. And so, yeah, I mean, this is definitely a tight-knit group, and they believe in what they're doing. And, you could see that even with the players on the team. We were speaking earlier about the Tony Romo, speech on Tuesday and the way that he put the team first. And, that's something that Jerry and Jason Garrett and guys like Jason Witten and Sean Lee and Des Bryant and these guys who have been around for a while now, they'll all tell you it's a team-first mentality with Garrett running the show. He talks a lot about the process, the old Nick Saban, philosophy there. And while some of that I feel like just gets boring and old and you hear it over and over again, they've actually bought into it. And they're actually doing it.
It's not all when you're 8-1, right? When you're 8-1, it's not rhetoric. Yeah. It's the way it works, right? And
when you're 4-12 last year, it's like, come on, man. I mean, you need to shift this up and maybe change things. This clearly isn't working. But when they go 12-4 in 2014, and then this year they're off to an 8-1 start and would be the 1 seed in the NFC if the playoffs started today. I mean, it's clearly a process that is working, and that players are buying into. So. They're playing great football, and they're buying into it, and it's a family environment. Everything's clicking right now because, of course, as you know, when you're winning, too, it makes everything feel a little bit better and a little easier to buy into everything and to show back up to work on Monday.
He is Pat Doney. He covers all things sports in Dallas, Texas, NBC, DFW, as well as Pat Doney, NBC5, out on Twitter. Cowboys get no break on the schedule now, right? I mean, you look at them and you say, all right, they're 8-1. Can they be 15-1 or 14-2 or like that? And what chance do the Ravens have to stop this running game this week tactically? But 4 days later, Redskins. Week later, they got to go to Minnesota. They got to go to the Giants and play. They still have to go to Philadelphia and play. They don't have an easy road here to the end, and that is the division where all of those teams are dangerous. They're all above 500, and it feels like the Ravens have lost to everybody in the division, even if they haven't.
Yeah, it definitely is not an easy path for the Cowboys going forward, but I will say that they've answered every challenge that's been thrown their way so far. I mean, they went into Lambeau the day that Brett Favre was being inducted into the Packers Ring of Honor, and they destroyed the Packers that day. That game was not close. They had the Bengals come to town, and everybody talking about that's probably the best defense they're going to face all year. At least at the time, that's what people were saying. And they smashed the Bengals in that game. It was not close. They won by 2 scores. It felt like a 4-score game. And then, the Eagles game, they didn't play very well. They struggled. They were down double digits against, I think, one of the best defenses in the NFL. And they come back and they win that game in overtime against Philadelphia. Then this past week, everybody's talking about the Cowboys' defense. They haven't given up a 100-yard rusher or a 100-yard receiver going into it, but they're getting ready to play Big Ben and Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell, and they're losing late in the game. And they come back again, and they win on the road in Pittsburgh, handing the Steelers their 4th loss in a row, so Pittsburgh was focused going into that game.
It gave me the warm fuzzies, Pat, just so you know.
I'm telling you, what I'm saying is as a guy who's covered the team for 4 years and has seen plenty of times where this Cowboys team has found ways to lose. They've snatched defeat in the, from the clinches of victory, right there or whatever. They have found ways to win. That has been extremely impressive so far. And so, yes, the schedule is not easy going forward, but I'm not sure how much more challenging it is compared to what it's already been. So if you were asking me today what I think that they are clearly on their way to at least a 12-4, 13-3 record, which, if you think about it, 12-4 would mean that they went 4-3 down the stretch. So they don't even really have to play very good football to get there, and you would have to think 12-4 would put them right on pace to potentially still be the 1 seed in the NFC. So it's been an unbelievable start for this team so far. It's a close group, and the Cowboys fans and the Cowboys front office has to be feeling great because it's a young group, too, so this is not a group that's going to be going away anytime soon.
Look, the Romo thing's tough on a lot of levels. I'm around these football players. I know the relationship that Dennis Pitta and Joe Flacco have, and, when Pitta wasn't in there, and now he's back in there, and, how all that works. Witten and Romo, I don't know that they're attached at the hip, but it feels to me from the outside, and I'm a long way away from it, there's a lot of relationship for Romo with a lot of these guys, including Dez Bryant, that, maybe Dak Prescott coming in with Ezekiel Elliott at the same time. Maybe there's more relationship there for that. But Romo's been the leader for a long, long time, probably even around the office where, the PR staff and the people that work there and all of that sort of stuff, that they have some affection for him, right?
There's no question that Romo and Witten are very tight. And that goes beyond just football. They're friends. And Witten has consistently talked about, loving playing with Romo being the leader of the team, all of that. And yet, after Romo's press conference Tuesday, when Witten spoke to the media on Wednesday, he said that he just was extremely proud of the way Tony handled it. It was an example of team-first thinking. Clearly, this team is rolling with momentum right now, 8 wins in a row. And I will point out, though, that Witten has all season long spoken about Ezekiel Elliott and Dak Prescott and how their youth and their energy and what they've brought to the locker room has almost caused him to feel a little younger and to create a little spark in the locker room for the veterans and guys who have been around a while. So,
well, it's exciting for a veteran player to see young guys come in and they can actually do it because Witten has been around there for a lot of guys who couldn't do it, right?
There's no question. And the Cowboys with Romo and Witten have had opportunities. And 2 years ago in 2014 is a great example. They're that one Dez catch, Dez non-catch in Green Bay away from the NFC Championship game. And, you could make the case that they were the best team in the NFC that year, and they just came up that close, And so that a guy like Jason Witten clearly wants to win with his buddy and the guy who came in the league with back in 2003 with Romo. He would love to do that. But at the same time, everybody in that locker room knows what they have going on right now is special. It's unique. It's something different than what they've experienced since the 90s, at least at this point of the season. There's no question about that. And so it's a tough decision. It's a good problem to have. And one thing I will point out is that people who are burying Romo this season, saying, hey, that was nice, and good luck with your next team down the road, are forgetting that quarterbacks get hurt in this league all the time. And people forget that Tom Brady, when he took over for Drew Bledsoe and back in 2001 and 2002, in the 2002 AFC Championship game, Brady got hurt in the second quarter, and Bledsoe took over and led the Patriots to the Super Bowl, where Brady then took back over and won the game. So Romo could be called upon again this season. He's in great shape, and I think that he believes that if he had the opportunity, he would play well. So it's not necessarily over for Romo with the Cowboys completely, but I think everybody knows that the future is with Dak. That's why they had to make the decision that they did. And I think even Tony Romo agrees. I don't think what was said in his speech Tuesday was just words. I think he believes what he was saying, that he understands, because he was that guy back before when he took the job from Bledsoe, the upstart guy who was clearly the future, that you have to ride the hot hand at that point.
Very interesting week to be heading down deep in the heart of Texas with the Cowboys, and, of course, their Redskin game on the back end with the pumpkin pie and the turkey on Thursday as well. Pat Doney joining us here from NBC5 in Dallas-Fort Worth. You can follow his journey out on Twitter at Pat Doney, NBC5. Pat, I got to take this another direction here. Everybody that follows me and our social media and my life knows about my wife's leukemia and all of our work with the DKMS, and there goes my hero and the swabbing we've done. And they also know of our stalking of Dirk Nowitzki over the past 2.5 years. We got a letter from this young man that saved my wife's life 27 months ago, and we realized that he was a Dirk Nowitzki fan from Germany and a young guy and an NBA fan and an NFL fan. We brought him over here, and we stalked down the Mavericks, and I saw the Mavericks play in L.A., election night. I saw them play in Golden State on the day after the election. We were there for the Steve Kerr press conference and all that entailed on Wednesday in Oakland, and then we were at the Madison Square Garden on Monday when the Mavericks lost to the Knicks up there. And then before the game, Nowitzki didn't play. He hadn't been playing. He played on Sunday night, didn't play on Monday. He met our hero here and the guy that saved my wife's life. I got to tell you, man, could not have been more magnanimous and more cool. And Mark Cuban answered an email of mine in 1 hour and 21 minutes, and I've run into him twice this week. And I said to him, dude, if Mark Cuban can answer my email in 1 hour and 21 minutes, I have no excuse for the rest of my life for not answering an email, at least on the first day or by the close of business the following day, So it really kind of set the bar high for me. I've been inspired by Cuban like that. But more than that, just you cover the team. I just want you to say something about Dirk and the Mavs, because this kid idolized Nowitzki, and Nowitzki could not have been any cooler to him and to us, and we're very, very appreciative, I've been around sports 32 years, 25 years on the radio. I don't ask for many favors, but when I do, it's nice when they come through and can create a little bit of magic,
Well, Cuban responded because the election's over, right? He had that out of the way. I'm just kidding.
Well, it was 24. It was less than 24 hours afterward, and people were kind of shocked that Cuban was in the kind of mood he was in. Because as bad a mood as he is, I might have been in a worse mood. But Cuban was incredible to me on Wednesday in
no
Oakland.
Question.
Yeah,
no question. I'm just playing around. Mark does great stuff for the community. Mark is definitely, he's polarizing, but at the same time, he's a good person, and I think that he genuinely. What he did for you and your family there, helping that out, I don't think that's unique completely. I think that, I know it's special for you guys, but what
it's
I'm saying
who he is, right? Yeah.
I think it's something that he has done many times, and so people don't get to see that kind of, that side of the NBA and of the Dallas Mavericks that closely. I will tell you, Dirk Nowitzki might be my favorite athlete that I've covered in my 12-year career.
Wow.
I mean, he is just so genuine. He always speaks to the media after every game. Every game. Win, lose, plays well, plays poorly. He's always honest and direct about things. He's funny. He's engaging. He's involved in the community, does great things, has a celebrity baseball game that he plays every year, and it's always hilarious to watch this 7-foot guy step into the batter's box and play baseball in the summertime. I mean, this is a guy who's just plugged in. He's a family guy. He's a leader in the community, and it doesn't surprise me one bit that when he heard your story, that he would, take the time to say hello to the gentleman who saved your wife's life. By the way, what a hero that guy is to step up to the plate. I would like to think that everybody would do that. but it's never a guarantee that somebody will do that. So
Didn't
that was
you have a
amazing
story
of that
down
guy
there
to
in
do that.
Dallas with a soccer player? Tell me that story, because
We did,
you
yeah.
tell stories for a living, Pat, down there, and this is a story that's right in our wheelhouse, especially when I've had Craig Sager's son on this week, and of course Craig had to go to the registry, to have his life saved back in August. A 20-year-old has stepped up to try to rescue him for the third time, and we're working on getting all these people together. But yeah, I mean, you've had an incredible story down there that also has a sports bent, right?
Yeah, no question about it. Chris Seitz is a goalie for FC Dallas, the MLS team here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. They play in Frisco, and you want to talk about a hero. Here's a hero. A friend of his, a teammate of his, a long time ago, 10 years ago or so, had a spouse who was battling leukemia, so they asked everybody on the team, back when he played for another organization completely, I believe it was Real Salt Lake, they asked everybody on the team if they would get swabbed, and so he did. And he wasn't a match then. 10 years or so goes by, and in the middle of a contract year with FC Dallas a few years ago, his phone rings, and somebody calls to tell him that he is a match of a stranger in Pennsylvania that he's never met, and they want to know if he's willing to donate his bone marrow in the middle of that contract season with only a few games left in the year, with FC Dallas still in a chance to make the playoffs at that point. And he did not hesitate. He went and spoke to management. He let them know it's something he believed in and thought they needed to do. Management, to their credit, backed him completely and said, absolutely, this is more important than sports. So he went through the procedure of having the bone marrow drawn out of his lower back. And as I'm sure you and your wife know very well, that's a very serious procedure that's done there. There's not a lot of pro athletes who have gone through that. And to know that there was a chance that it could affect his movement, his mobility as a goalie, a guy who goes back and forth and has to be able to dive. I mean, there was a real chance that he would never be the same guy again, to the elite athleticism that he had shown to that point. But he did it, and he saved the gentleman's life. We helped introduce the two of them a few years later. It was outstanding, and Chris came back and had the best year of his career the following season under a new contract. So a true hero story and a great story, one of my favorites that we've told here in Dallas-Fort Worth.
Great having you on, Pat. That was a great story, man, and I can't believe how it all sort of, works together. We're always looking for those stories to promote them, and I know you've done that as well. We'll see you down there on Saturday and Sunday in Dallas, and this is a tall task for the Ravens. This is one of those weeks where you're going to find out what they're made of, right?
No question. I mean, the Ravens have 5 wins on the season, I believe. They're 5-4 going into this game, but 2 of those wins are against the Browns, and they beat the Steelers. That's a good win there. They're playing, they're coming off a nice win against the Steelers, this is going to be an interesting matchup for the Cowboys because this Ravens run defense is good. I mean, they've allowed, I believe it's a little over 3 yards per carry, but Mike Lombardi from Fox had a great stat. He said they did allow one 85-yard touchdown run, and if you take that away, that means they're only allowing 2.8 yards per carry. I mean, that's outstanding. And so they're getting ready to go head-to-head against this Cowboys running attack that has the best offensive line in football, and Ezekiel Elliott, who you could argue is the Rookie of the Year and maybe even MVP in the league. The league's leading rusher with over 1,000 yards right now is on pace to have one of the greatest seasons in Cowboys history, maybe even the best season in Cowboys history, and that's as a rookie. So it's going to be a tough task for the Ravens going against this offense, but I'll say on the opposite side that this might be one of the better run defenses the Cowboys face all season from this side here in Dallas. And so they're taking it seriously, and the conversations I've had with players in the locker room this week, they know that a 9th win in a row is no lock, going into this game, even though they're big favorites, a 7-point favorite according to Las Vegas.
This is going to be fun. We're just excited. We have a season here, right? I mean,
By
2
the
weeks
way,
ago, we stunk, right?
The Cowboys have never beaten the Ravens. The only team in the NFL the Cowboys have never beaten in franchise history.
I remember banging Aikman around big time the year we won the Super Bowl. Won that game like 35-0. I remember the runaway game with Willis McGahee when they shut down the old stadium over in Irving it was 8 years ago. It was Christmas week, as I remember it. It's a good feeling to have never lost to the Cowboys. I hope we can still say that on Sunday night when I'm flying home.
Well, the Cowboys are hoping they'll be able to say for the first time in franchise history they will have won 9 games in a row in a regular season because they've never done that before. They've tied the record right now with the 1977 team, and if they beat the Ravens Sunday, that'll be the longest regular season winning streak in Cowboys franchise history. And if you think about all the years with Staubach and all the years with Aikman and Irvin and Emmett, and even the great years that Romo's had in the past, in 2007 and the 2014 team, to be able to say that this rookie group of Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott, potentially the best of all of those groups in a regular season, That's pretty unbelievable if you think about it.
Well, we'll be looking to squat on the star before that happens on Sunday at noon Central. Pat, great having you on, man. I appreciate the time as always.
Anytime, man.
You got it, Pat Doney, NBC4, a way to follow him on Twitter as well as at NBCDFW. That's Dallas, Fort Worth. We'll be there on Saturday and Sunday. Luke's on the backfields out in Owings Mills all week long. I'm in the Bahia Toyota Audio Vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn Radio app. You can listen from anywhere, anytime in Dallas or Fort Worth or Frisco or Waco or Austin or any other godforsaken place in Texas. You can find us. The morning newspaper delivers at 7 a.m. to your email inbox. It's all brought to you by Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com. We're still $10 a month to get in the best shape of your life. And last but never least, Nasty at WNST.net reaches me. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live on Facebook Live and on YouTube on our WNSTV channel. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.